The International Religious Freedom Summit is taking place this week as well here in our nation's capital. I'll be speaking on Thursday at the summit. Yesterday, we had on the program the co-chair of the summit, Sam Brownback, the former U.S. Ambassador at Large for International Religious Freedom. And as he told us, they're expecting a record attendance this year. A lot of focus on religious freedom. And I would say that has a lot to do with the current administration that back when they were here last time, the Trump administration put a priority on international religious freedom, and they're back. And we're hopeful that that once again will be a focus. But this event draws leaders from around the world. And among the leaders speaking at the summit on behalf of the persecuted church is Tristan Azbej. He is the state secretary for the Aid of Persecuted Christians. His government, the Hungarian government, has been at the forefront of protecting Christians around the world. And he joins me now in studio. Secretary Azbej, thanks for joining us. Always great to see you. Welcome back to Washington Watch.
Thank you. It is great to be back with your show.
Now, when we spoke last, we touched on your government's focus on defending Christians around the world. Now, you make no, you don't hesitate to say that you're focused on Christians. This is not just everybody. Your government has taken it upon themselves to help Christians wherever they're persecuted.
Well, first we met, it was 7 years ago, at the Religious Freedom Summit in D.C., and then I remember I went on the stage and introduced myself with my title, State Secretary for the Aid of Persecuted Christians. And even though it was a group of people concerned with religious freedom, what I have seen was surprise, shock, and immediately criticism. Because back in the time, these religious freedom discussions weren't focusing on Christians,
right,
or not even mentioning
It's not politically
it was
correct.
Everything else. It wasn't politically correct to show the reality of Christian persecution.
But you have,
yes,
and you've actually changed the conversation somewhat about this, that even internationally there's more of a recognition of the persecution of Christians. Let's talk a little bit about the advancement that has been made in the last 7 years as Hungary has continued to do this work.
Yes, we had and have two major objectives. One is to save as many persecuted Christian lives as it is possible. One is to rebuild the Christian towns, the ancient Christian towns in the Middle East and the Holy Land that was destroyed by jihadists. One is to save Christians in northern Nigeria, and I could go on. But the other one is to inspire the rest of the world, the culturally or historically, formerly Christian world, more powerful governments than Hungary and the international organizations to stand by the Christians. So if you ask me about how we advance with that, regarding the humanitarian aid, I am proud to report that we have provided aid to more than 2 million persecuted Christians or Christians in need in more than 50 countries, more than 2 million. Well, that is something for a small country to be proud of, but recent studies shows that there are more than 380 million followers of Christ who are persecuted. So if you subtract 2 million from that, there is still hundreds of millions who need help. So therefore, another important question is that how successful we were to convince other governments, and unfortunately, not very successful. And the reason for that is that when you try to partner up, for example, with Western European governments who are governed by liberal parties, or when we try to partner up with the Biden administration, you see a hostile type of indifference or neglecting, tendency to neglect Christian persecution. Our major breakthrough was during the first Trump administration, when the U.S., with all the almost infinite resources compared to Hungary, signed a cooperation agreement with us, who is only a 10 million strong country, and together we rebuilt Iraqi Christian towns on the Nineveh Plains. We supported Christian communities who still pray in and speak in Aramaic. But it was Right away, it was canceled, this cooperation with the Biden administration. So that part is sometimes even more difficult than what we do through the Hungary Helps program.
So why is this a priority for the Hungarian government?
Two reasons, and both of those reasons have to do with who we are. We are a 1,000-year-old Christian nation, and we are proud of that. And I can say this, that we are a Christian nation as a government official, and I'm not going to be fired tomorrow because of not being politically correct. The way we look at it is that we are a small nation who somehow survived between the big empires for 1,000 years, and we attribute this to the fact that our first king, King Saint Stephen, offered Hungary to the Virgin Mary. So it has to do with our Christian heritage and understanding our moral obligation to support our Christian brothers and sisters in the Middle East and in other places where they are persecuted. We also understand it as a fact, not as a theory, that the moment the last Christian will disappear from the Holy Land, that will be the end of all of the Christian civilization. And the other one is humanitarian, because Christianity tells us that we should not focus only on Christians. Christian solidarity is universal solidarity. But if we see the facts, today Christianity is the most persecuted religious group in the world. By numbers, because of their faith, Christians are persecuted in the largest numbers. So not only our Christianity, but our general humanitarian sense, our general universal solidarity dictates that the Western countries should not abandon the Christians like they did when ISIS committed genocidal attacks against them in 2014, or like they do when Boko Haram commits genocidal attacks against them in Nigeria in these days and years.
Well, we don't have time to go into it today, but the Hungarian government also doing a lot of innovative policy work to encourage family development. They actually want kids born to Hungarian families, and they like big families, which I'm really excited about. As a father of 5, I should have went to Hungary because you've got all kinds of programs for those. But we're out of time, can't talk about that today, but we will. But let me say on behalf of the Christian community, thank you to Hungary for taking a stand for the persecuted Christians.
Thank you for your support. Thank you for your fight for religious freedom, and thank you for your friendship and support towards us Hungarians.